everyone, welcome back to my channel Science Wiz. Today's session, let me start with Biology Chapter 5, the Fundamental Unit of Life, Part 1. The study of cell structure and function is called cell biology. Cell biology is a branch of biology that studies cells, their physiological properties, their structure, the organelles they contain, interactions with the environment, their life cycle, division, death, and cell function. This is done both on a microscopic and molecular level. Cell biology research encompasses both a great diversity of single-cell organisms like bacteria and protozoa, as well as the many specialized cells in multicellular organisms such as humans, plants, and sponges. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let's move on to the chapter.
Our body is made up of millions of basic units coming together. They are called cells. The human body has over 100 trillion of them, and it all undergo chemical reactions every second. Their amazing biochemistry has nurtured life on Earth for billions of years and protected us from harm. So why this cell is called as a fundamental unit of life? If a cell, a single cell, when it comes a group of cells, it forms a tissue. Group of tissues forms an organ. Group of organ forms an organ system like muscular system, respiratory system, digestive system, etc. And these systems form an individual. That's why the cell is called as a fundamental unit of life. In 1665, Robert Hooke, an English scientist, he looked at a slice of cork under compound microscope. He observed many tiny hollow room-like structure that resemble honeycomb and he called as cell. Cell is a Latin word for a little room. This may seem to be a very small and insignificant incident, but it's very important in the history of science. This was the very first time that someone had observed that living things appear to consist of separate units. The use of the word cell to describe this unit is used till this day in biology. What are living organisms made up of? Notice that cork cells are not alive, they are dead cells. What are living organisms made up of? Let's take a small piece from an onion bulb, peel off the skin, and put it immediately water on a watch glass containing water so that it prevents the peel from getting folded or getting dry. Then take a glass slide, put a drop of water on it, and transfer a small piece of the peel from the watch glass to the slide. Make sure that the peel is perfectly flat on the slide. Put a drop of iodine solution so that cells in the onion will be colored, so it will be easy to identify the cells. Observe it under the low power followed by high powers of a compound microscope. What do we observe as we look through the lens? Can we draw the structures that we are able to see through the microscope on an observation sheet? So this is how the cells of an onion peel looks like. We can try preparing temporary mounds of peels of onions of different sizes. So what do we observe? Do we see similar structures or different structures? We find from this activity that onion bulbs of different sizes have similar small structures visible under a microscope. The cells of the onion peel will all look the same regardless of the size of the onion they came from. These small structures we see are the building units of onion bulb. These structures are called cells. Not only onions but all organisms that we observe around are made of cells. However, there are also single cells that can live on their own. Yes, a single cell can live independently on its own. For example, amoeba. The single cell organism which can perform everything a living organism needs to. It can take its own food, it can respire, it can reproduce, etc. Next is about the discovery of the cell. Cells were first discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. He observed the cells in a cork slice with the help of a primitive microscope. He observed in a cork slice, that's a dead cell, the cell is not alive, dead cells. Whereas Leeuwenhoek 1674 with the improved microscope discovered the free living cells in pond water for the first time. It was Robert Brown in 1831 who discovered the nucleus in the cell. Purkinje in 1839 coined the term protoplasm for the fluid substance of the cell. Next is about the cell theory. Cell theory, Schwann. The cell theory that all the plants and animals are composed of cells and that the cell is the basic unit of life was presented by the two biologists, Schwann and Schwann, in 1838 and 1839. Schwann, all plants are made of cells. Schwann, all animals are made of cells. The cell theory was further expanded by Virchow, 1855, by suggesting that all cells arise from the pre-existing cells. With the discovery of the electron microscope in 1940, it was possible to observe and understand the complex structure of the cell and its various organelles. Virchow suggesting that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. For example, cells arise from parent cell. Suppose if we get damage on skin, it will heal by itself. New cell will form over that and by cell division. Parent cell get matured, it undergoes cell division, so that two cells will be formed. This shows that cells arise from pre-existing cells. The invention of magnifying lenses led to the discovery of the microscopic world, that's microscopic organisms or the microbes. It is now known that a single cell may constitute a whole organism, that's an amoeba, chlamydomonas, paramecium and bacteria. These organisms are called unicellular organisms. Uni means single, cell, cellular organism, single cell. On the other hand, many cells group together in a single body and assume different functions to form various body parts in multicellular organisms. That means many cells, such as some fungi, plants and animals. Can we find out names of some more unicellular organisms? Let's learn in detail about unicellular and multicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms, single cell, whereas multicellular organisms, multiple cells. Here, in single cell, perform all tasks and functions like respire, reproduction, etc. Here, many cells work together to perform functions. Unicellular organisms include eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Multicellular organisms include only eukaryotic cells. In unicellular organism, an injury in unicellular organism affects the whole body, which causes the death of the cell. Whereas in multicellular organism, an injury in a cell of a multicellular organism does not affect the whole body or cause death. Examples of unicellular organism: amoeba, paramecium, bacteria, euglena, yeast, etc. Multicellular organism: plants, animals, fungi, etc. Next, every multicellular organism has come from a single cell. How? Let's learn that. Yes, cell divides to produce cells of their own kind. For example, after an ovum is fertilized, zygote is formed. The zygote is actually a single cell. Once this has taken place, the zygote begins a 2-week period of rapid cell division and eventually becomes an embryo. This is the answer, shows that every multicellular organism has come from a single cell. Cells divide to produce cells of their own kind. All cells thus come from pre-existing cells. Next, we can try preparing temporary mounds of leaf peels, even the tips or roots of onion, or even peels of onions of different sizes. Next, here are the questions. Do all cells look alike in terms of shape and size? No. All the cells of our body look different in terms of shape, size, as well as structure, as they are needed for different functions at different parts of the body. For example, nerve cell, it's a long string shape in order to stretch to connect to other neurons. It's carried on long distances. Heart muscle cells, they contract and relax. So, the answer is no. Next is, do all cells look alike in structure? No, all cells did not look alike in structure. because all the cells are different in shape and they perform different functions. For example, muscle cell spindle shape, whereas nerve cell has a long shape. Next question. Could we find differences among cells from different parts of plant body? Yes, we can find differences in cells from various parts of the plant body. There are different types of cells in a plant body. For example, root cells differ from the types of cells present in leaves or stems. Next question. What similarities could we find? All cells have cell membrane, organelles, cytoplasm and DNA. If we compare plant and animal cells, they are both eukaryotic cells. They both contain membrane-bound organelles, which are tiny structures inside the cells that perform different functions. Next, some organisms can also have cells of different kinds. Here are the various cells from the human body. Smooth muscle cell, which is found in stomach as well as intestine. Blood cell, which is WBC, RBC. Nerve cell, almost all parts of our body, especially brain and spinal cord, it sends impulses. Next is ovum, that's a female gamete in female body. Sperm, it's a male gamete in male body. And the fat cell or the adipose tissue which store fat.